Well, hello there. Sinister Lex back for another video where we're going to discuss what do you do when complacency holds you back. So, you are someone who wants to build an evil empire. You want to be a supervillain entrepreneur. But there's a problem. You know what you have to do. You have an idea of how you would carry this thing out. And yet, when you start looking into the steps, what it's going to take to get you from where you are to where you want to be, you start noticing many potential fail points. You start noticing places where you might be weak or areas where you're going to lose out, where you're not going to be able to move ahead. And when you start to notice these things, you also start to awaken this fear. It's deep down inside. It's deep in the pit of your core. Or maybe it's up here in your mind. This is a worry, an anxiety, a feeling of if I try this thing, then I may face adversity at some point. Why is this happening? How are you going to overcome it? Because you know you have to. If you want to build an evil empire, you have to overcome this thing. You have to overcome this roadblock that is holding you back, and that means you are going to have to get uncomfortable. And this is a hard fact to face for some types of supervillains, because this particular type is someone who values comfort above all else, values a place of stability and oneness and zenness, and just wants to keep the peace, wants to be in this place where life is okay. And they don't really have motivation to move out of that place. They or you don't want to engage in conflict. You don't want to do things that stir the water, stir the pot, or splash in the water. And so you are held back from making progress, because just when you think that you're ready to make progress, you in fact withdraw from that. You slow down a little bit. You say, wait a minute, like I would do that thing. I would move toward that goal. But that is an area where it's going to cause me a little bit of discomfort. I'm going to have discomfort. I'm not going to have peace in my life if I do that thing. It's going to cause me to have to do things that puts me in a place of disruption. And I don't want that. I want balance. I want to be in this place of balance and peace and harmony and stability and comfort. And this even goes so far as to your priorities. You want to prioritize things. You want to start to organize your life, put the pieces in place, and take action on those pieces. But even just the thought of organizing things, of getting organized, of figuring out the different steps, that is something you fear. You fear it, you worry about it, because you are someone who thinks in big picture supervillain terms. And because you think this way, getting into the details, while it is something that is a struggle for you because your mind doesn't naturally think that way, it is also what has to happen in order for you to move forward, because until you get into those details and start to map out each of the individual steps, then you can't even get to the action part of this whole thing. The steps are uncomfortable for you because you are someone who has ideas, you are someone who can take action, but the actions that you end up taking are the wrong actions. They're actions that are to keep you comfortable and complacent and stable. And so you prioritize these things in your life, and what ends up happening is that even when you might be ready to take action on something, you end up replacing useful actions that move you towards your goals with actions that are comfortable for you. They keep you in place. They keep the balance. And this is a big challenge. And it comes down to a point where you can't even prioritize the actions you need to take towards your goals. Like, you see yourself as maybe either taking action or just not doing anything, even though you know what you need to do. But you're not doing those things because you want to be comfortable. So yes, this is all about comfort, but it's in particular for one particular type of supervillain that this is happening to, where you never make any progress because you're not willing to get uncomfortable. And that is what has to happen, even though it may not even be that uncomfortable. That's what has to happen. So if you are someone who is replacing real action in your life, making steps towards your supervillain empire, then what do you have to do? What has to happen? Because you're such a big picture thinker, Mr. Big Picture Thinker, you have to be someone who figures out what you want. So we start by figuring out the end result. What does your evil empire look like? And you need to map this out in great detail. You need to know what is involved in that picture. Detail. This is about the detail, this important thing. The important thing you have to do, the action you have to take, is to get into the details. So, the first step for you today is to map that thing out. Write down exactly what your evil empire is going to look like when it is realized, whatever that is. And I just want you to get really clear on that thing, on your evil empire. And then I want you to do something else. I want you to write down the steps, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to it now. We're going to address this right now because you don't like conflict, and I'm a conflict-oriented person. I go, if there's conflict, I'm like, let's do this. Let's make some conflict. Let's disrupt some waters. You don't like to do that. So you have to, though. You have to at least make that first step. The first step being to get into the details. It's disrupting your day a little bit. It's hard for you because you don't naturally do those things. You're not naturally an organized person. You're not naturally someone who figures out the details of what you want. That's the first part, so write that down. And then the second part is that I want you to write down these steps, working backward from that point to where you are right now. These are the individual steps. What is the last step that has to happen before you get to your evil empire, before it is realized? It doesn't matter how big or small it is. It doesn't matter if you want everything in the world or you just want a good enough life that you can enjoy it without having to do all the things that you don't want to do, that you have all the power in the world to create the balance that you want. Because right now there's an imbalance in your life. And the reason there's an imbalance is because you don't have a supervillain empire. You do not have an evil empire yet. You are not ruling your own world. And for that reason, there is an imbalance. So that imbalance is causing you to seek this thing. You are seeking balance by looking into entrepreneurship, by looking into an evil empire. You're trying to find a way to get to balance. And you know that on the other side, whenever you create this picture of what you want, what your evil empire looks like, you know that that thing is going to be balanced. That is going to be your place of peace and comfort, whatever that might look like for you. For me, it is this 6x8 room that creates balance in my life. So, map out what that balanced place looks like for you, all the things that are in it, no matter how big or small, and then set the action steps. I guess they're action steps. Just set the steps, working backward from there to where you are right now. That's what your goal is for today, and when you do that, you're going to start to gain a little bit of clarity, and it's going to feel uncomfortable at first because you are not someone who likes to do these things, but you're going to do them because I just told you to do them, and I am the supervillain here. Do these things, and when you get back to where you are right now, maybe you can start to pinpoint why you're out of balance, realizing that you do not have full control over your life. And because you do not have full control, your balance can be disrupted at any moment. You might get into conflict. You might have moments that truly disrupt everything. You might have moments that spiral you back to corporate prison, where you are no longer able or capable of doing the things you want to do, having the balance, the peace, and the comfort, and the stability that you crave and desire in this life. And when you get back to the original starting point, where you are right now, I also want you to think about where you've been, what you've come through, what you've had to do to get where you are, and what results has that gotten you up to this point. You've sought balance all your life. You have sought complacency. You have feared and worried that things wouldn't work out. You've done so many different actions that were all, maybe even in your eyes at times, taking action, but really they were only action faking. So now is your time to shine, my friend. Now, minion, is the time for you to take your first real action. And this is your call to action today. I want you to take those steps. If you are someone who feels like you know what to do, you know your business idea can work, you know whatever it is that you're doing can work, then let's get real with it. It's time to put it out there. It's time for you to create that map of your evil empire. Create a picture of it. Draw it on a paper if you want to. Draw the car, draw the house, draw the trees, draw the family. Or just make a list of the things that you want and then make a second list of the steps going from that place backwards to where you are right now. And then I just want you to think about it. Think about the balance that you think you have right now, because you don't have balance, you don't have stability, you don't have complacency. You believe you do because day to day, week by week, you try to manage the things in your life so that you can maintain balance. But at any given moment, there are things, and you know what these are. You know these things. You know the things that if they happen would totally fuck your shit up. They would fuck your whole day up, and they would fuck your whole life up, and you would be in the worst place in the world because you would be so out of balance because you don't have the resources that you would have if you had your evil empire built. You don't have those resources yet. And so when that thing happens, you spiral out of balance like never before. You spiral out of control. You go into this place where everything is just happening to you and you are not in control anymore. You don't have your own space anymore. You don't have balance. You are in conflict and constant struggle. And that can happen to you because you are falsifying your balance right now. I guess that's the bottom line thing here. You are creating a false sense of balance and comfort for yourself. You create it week by week, so you don't see it from a bird's eye view. Even though you have a big picture mindset, you may not see from the bird's eye view. You may deny it. You may say, I need to do this thing to create balance in my life. Maybe I need to put off those work tasks because they are hard and they're not going to make me feel good or comfortable. Maybe I need to put off those entrepreneurial tasks because that's going to take effort from me. So we want to get you to that first step. Start a pattern of taking action. It's going to feel good. I promise you, it is scary at first, but you're going to do this again because I told you so, minion. So go and create a picture or a list of your evil empire and the steps working back to where you are now. And that is all you have to do. And we will come back to this later and discuss at some later point in time what your next action steps might be in order for you to get to that next place, to take those first real actions that actually move you towards your goals, toward the evil empire and stability and comfort that you really want, toward having that ultimate sense of control over your environment and over your world. If that is something you are struggling with, go and do that now. I thank you so much for watching, tuning in, following me, subscribing, and getting my notifications. I'm Sinister Lex, XOXO, and I will see you next time.